first Weed Club webinar live on Zoom. We've been used to hosting these events in San Francisco at Runway Co-working Space, and but times right now have changed. And so let me just share this feed here, post. Great. So everybody, thanks for joining us. Today, we have an important topic to cover, and that's, how is coronavirus COVID affecting the cannabis industry, and how will patients cope with this issue? How will store owners cope with this issue? How will our policymakers lead us, through these very different times? And then what's the impact for cannabis businesses and patients and caregivers? So everybody, I'm Evan from WeedClub.com. I tweeted at 420. I throw the at 420 pitch. The next one's on March 24th here on Zoom. And we'll have 10 cannabis companies presenting there. But today, the hot topic is coronavirus and its impact on the cannabis community. As of yesterday, cannabis dispensaries had been closed, and then as of today, they've reopened. And so we are lucky to have Senator Scott Wiener joining us today. And so welcome, Scott Wiener. How are you doing today?
I'm cooped up at home, which is, I guess, the new our new reality, but I'm doing okay. Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us. And we're also joined by Marty Higgins of Urbana. Marty, welcome. How are you? I think we got you. We need you to unmute a little bit, Marty.
I've unmuted.
There you go.
I've been muting myself lately over the last 24 hours, but great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so guys, let's jump right into it. We have about a half hour to cover these important topics. And so, the first thing that's come down the pipeline has really been this title of essential business, and defining what is an essential business. Marty, can you tell us a little bit about what that process was like for Urbana and then having to close yesterday, and then you've reopened today. So how's business and what's happening there?
Well, I think that, business has been a bit manic, if I can describe it. It's been up, it's been down, prior to and leading up to the order of shelter in place. It created the type of traffic that we all saw either at the grocery store or the gas station and everywhere we went. We were certainly no different in that regard. And as we started to institute various practices limiting the number of guests and patients in our store, that slowed everything down to a crawl, and we did the best we could to serve everyone. And it was a bit of a shock to learn on Monday night at 8:30 that our businesses were going to be closed. Storefront retail and delivery. It was certainly came as a surprise, and I did everything I could to jump in and be a part of the movement that I think led to us being reinstated and considered as an essential business. I think there were some other things that happened legislatively and some other municipalities that supported that. And we certainly felt the support of Scott, of our local supervisors, of the Department of Health. And so I think that each of us were all a bit surprised to find out at 8:30 that we would not be operating on Tuesday.
Yeah, so, well, we're glad you're back in business. And so, Senator Wiener, at the state level, are you getting is there even a conversation happening at the state level? And, is there a trend now that we've turned the corner and reopened the stores? Is there a trend towards protecting that?
Yeah, so yesterday or 2 days ago is when the Department of Public Health, as well as other county health departments, issued the stay-at-home order and closed down all non-essential businesses. The initial interpretation was that cannabis dispensaries were not essential. A number of us pushed back, and I'm grateful that the Department of Public Health quickly took a look and realized that cannabis dispensaries are essential businesses because so many people rely on cannabis as medicine. And just like pharmacies remain open, so too should cannabis dispensaries. So I'm grateful about that. And people, whether they're suffering from anxiety or PTSD or a physical condition where cannabis is their medicine, they'll be able to have their medicine. And I don't have any reason to believe that this will change. It is, of course, very important that the dispensaries meticulously enforce social distancing so that people are at least 6 feet apart, and that, of course, the workers are protected as well.
Yeah, so Marty, is the social distancing, you know, people like to look and smell and touch and talk to a bud tender. And so, you know, what can you do to make sure that this social distancing becomes like a real, priority?
Well, this was certainly the topic of a conversation with our San Francisco Retailer Alliance yesterday on the phone, as we were all trying to figure out a way to not only open our doors, but do it in a way that was responsible and that followed the guidelines of the CDC. And part of that, as you know, is social distancing. I think the most challenging part that we're all facing is when people are in line and being able to practice that social distancing, because those of us that were on the phone and in agreement to open up with specific guidelines include a very limited number of guests and patients in our store at any one time, limiting for us, you know, the number of people in our building less than 10. And so, you know, you're running on a very small skeletal crew and serving, you know, 2, 3, 4 guests at a time. So it's a very limited process. Most of the people, and I just got off the phone with my general manager at Urbana Geary, which, by the way, both of our stores are open. Urbana Mission at 29th and Mission, and Urbana Geary at 12th and Geary. Both are open from 11 to 7. So if anybody's curious, and I've been fielding a lot of inquiries, both on our website at urbananow.com and on some of our social channels, but that we are open. And that is one of the challenges, but overwhelmingly people are grateful. They're being patient. They're happy to have access, safe access. We have 2 on-site consumption lounges. We closed those, and the Department of Health issued a memo this morning to each of us with consumption licenses to close the facilities. It's only the responsible thing to do, and to just focus on what's needed most is to be able to get people their medicine. And it's important to note during this process yesterday, as we were going through this and communicating with the BCC, they were issuing the ability to do curbside pickup, which is essentially delivery, which by the BCC governance is not allowed for us to actually walk an order out to somebody that was just, say, in their car right in front of our store. We do have that ability to do curbside pickup. We've decided to open our retail floor and conduct order ahead. And the reports that I'm now fielding is that our order ahead platform is feeling the weight of so many people rushing to push orders through, not only in our dispensaries, but across the state.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of an essential product, there's nothing more essential than a person's access to cannabis, and some more than others, but people use cannabis for a lot of different treatments. Senator Wiener, one of the topics that's, as we followed what's happening in China, contactless delivery of food became the norm. They would say that the name and the body temperature of who prepared it and who delivered it, and it would be left a safe distance away from the door, and then the person would come out and get it. If there's a large outbreak, God forbid, here in the local area, there must be ways that the state can help with policies that, like, for example, we were working on having credit union access, which would enable us to do digital payments. And so without digital payments, how can we effectively maintain the most best practices for social distancing? So Senator Wiener, is there any trend in Sacramento to help enable cashless payments or contactless payments? I think we lost Scott. Hopefully Scott will be right back shortly. So, Marty, having cashless payments would be, a scenario where your order ahead would work even more smoothly. You could have really almost a contactless pick up and drop off, like a locker almost, where it's like really maintaining that distance until we don't need to maintain that distance anymore.
Yeah, it certainly would be something that if we were able to use credit cards and the like, to be able to process those payments and allow for either that more efficient pickup and or delivery. But until then, we still try to find ways to navigate the system.
Yeah, another thing that comes to mind too is that the talk is that patients and customers will be losing work. Welcome back, Scott. So where we left off was
sorry about that.
No problem. We were asking you about the ability to start arranging for contactless payments.
Yeah.
And there was a credit union policy that was close to making it through last year or 2 years ago. And so how can we, maybe Fiona Ma and yourself and our team up in Sacramento can help to solve this by fast tracking some contactless payment and credit union system to give access to Urbana and all the stores and delivery services, an ability to take credit cards.
Yeah, and I agree with the delivery. With food delivery, I know that there's been a really strong and important push to have contactless delivery, clearly because of our ridiculous federal laws that prevent cannabis businesses from banking. It creates a lot of challenges there. There's been a big push by
Welcome to the new world, technology and social distancing and its challenges.
Yeah, it's still such precious information, So for you on the day you're reopening and dealing with, what has to be a surge, because look, I think people feel a little insecure right now, and that's rational. I think it's rational to feel a little insecure and to, people are making fun of hoarders that are hoarding things, but we just don't know what's going to happen next. And so when they took away access to cannabis for even one day,
yeah,
that sent a pretty chilling message to the community that this is not something to take for granted, that these dispensaries, and there's a whole competition with the black market. And so the unregulated market, if you shut down the legal market, then where will people, go for their cannabis products, and will they be maintaining social distancing when they do that?
No question is one of the probably the biggest concerns of that momentary decision, or our ability to not be able to serve the community, would be the impact that people would turn to whatever means they could, and we know that would bolster the black market. And for us, in light of Vapegate and other untested, unregulated products in the black market, it's a real concern, because for me, I got into this business to serve the community. I have a history of working in nonprofits, and we wanted to serve people. That's what our mission is, and cannabis consumer. And we weren't able to do that. And that was the most disturbing thing, I think, of it all. Thinking that people with serious illnesses, or, this is an anxious time, people with anxieties, looking for, ways to calm and medicate and deal with the situation around us, certainly became a a big concern for all of us in the space. I know all of our retailers were talking about just that. How do we get our doors open, and what are we going to do to fight for the communities that that we serve?
Welcome back, Scott. We were still on this contact list. You left off with China and the food delivery.
Yes, I need a new iPad, so now I'm now on my phone, so it should be safe. So we need to find a way to allow cannabis businesses to bank for many reasons, and now this is the newest one because it makes it much harder to do contactless deliveries. There's been a lot of push in Sacramento by various people, by various members of the legislature, by Fiona Ma, to see if we can create some sort of state bank or credit union to be able to service cannabis businesses. It has proven extremely difficult and complicated, and we've not been able to get it done. Not for lack of political will. I think there's broad political will to do it. The federal legalities of it are just very hard, but we need to keep working on it. And at some point, Congress will, I think, acknowledge that this has to change.
When they talk about stimulus and $1 trillion in the first wave or whatever this number is going to be, do you think a single penny of that will reach like cannabis businesses?
Well, we need a lot of support for small businesses. And by the way, in the short term, and I'm working on legislation to do this, we need to make sure that small businesses are not evicted from their commercial spaces because, I mean, at least the dispensaries are open now, so they can generate revenue and pay the rent. Other businesses are shut down, so we want to try to stabilize all small businesses. In terms of the federal stimulus, I can't say with certainty. I hope that we can get some of those funds for all businesses that need it. I am not optimistic that, given that this is federal, that we would see much or any of it for cannabis-related businesses. I can't say with certainty, but that's just my instinct.
You know, one way I was thinking of ways that the state could assist customers and patients, and it would be to immediately like lower the taxes or eliminate some of the taxes, because so much of the cost right now at the register are the taxes. So maybe as a state we can take action to help firstly the consumer and the patient, and then hopefully cities and the state will find ways to get capital to these small businesses, which employ so many people. So.
Yeah, well, predating COVID-19, we've had an issue where we legalized adult use of cannabis, but then we imposed very high taxes at the state level, and then on top of that, local taxes. And although I'm a supporter of taxing cannabis, if you make the taxes too high, you just fuel the illicit market, and that's not what we want. Last year, I passed legislation. It took us a couple of tries, but we got it done, and Governor Newsom signed it, legislation to at least exempt compassion programs from state cannabis taxes, to say that if you are a program where you're giving away free medical cannabis, which these programs serve low-income people who need medicine, you shouldn't have to pay taxes on it because there's no revenue for the program. Assembly member Rob Bonta from the East Bay had and has legislation to lower the cannabis taxes to address this issue that he's not, at least as far as I know, not been able to get a lot of traction on that, but I think we have to keep trying.
Yeah, so, just to bring a little dose of reality here, what we're talking about, a lot of people are talking on social media, they haven't been affected by this, they're out jogging at the Embarcadero, but we had a fourth panelist scheduled for this event today, and she is out getting tested for the virus right now. She was at a dinner party. Somebody at the dinner party notified her that she had come in contact with them and they were positive for coronavirus. And she had to get a referral from her doctor, who referred her to the federal government, who referred her to a place to go drive through right now. So this is affecting our community. 25% of our panel today was affected. So it's just critical. It's just critical. So, I worry about what happens if we have like a full quarantine. And so, one of the questions that's in the Facebook chat was, how easy can people get their cannabis delivered so they don't have to leave their house? And it makes me think of the postal service in Canada. Urbana would be able to ship products, straight to a patient over the postal service in Canada. So maybe we need a state postal service.
Um, yeah, the whole federal situation just gums everything up, and over time, I'm hoping that we can. There have been some baby steps at the federal level, because there are even Republicans who understand that cannabis should not be prohibited. But we have work to do. I think that over time there will be positive change, but it's super painful and ridiculous while we're in this situation about the lack of banking, that you can't use the mail and so forth.
Marty, so staffing, logistically staffing up for the keeping the store open and making sure that your staff is there. Is your staff being impacted by the virus? Are there kids home from school and they're having childcare issues, or how do you cope with staff in your store right now?
Well, fortunately, we haven't had any reports of someone contacting or the virus. We have had some instances where some parents now, like myself, have had to start their own homeschooling program. So among the list of titles I now carry that of headmaster. And, there are other of our employees that just, they have to stay home to take care of their children. It's a challenging decision. The other side of it is working in, service industry, dispensaries or grocery stores, or where you're having a lot of traffic. It certainly is a concern to those of us that are working. And again, we're just following those CDC guidelines, really the social distancing and the cleanliness and the consistent wipe down of materials. We have a little bit of a different retail format in the sense of all of our products are out on the shelf, where our guests can freely choose and select and roam around the store, if you will. And we have baskets, and to keep those baskets clean and to keep the areas as sterile as we can, and consistent wipe down to prevent any type of outbreak within the store itself. But certainly challenging, concerning for our team, who our team, along with others, is doing a great job, keeping the doors open and providing that safe access.
All right. Well, I think this could turn into a multi-part conversation. And, I just want to implore the community to continue, working in the supply chain. If you work in cannabis and are in the supply chain, take extra precautions. But if you can stay in business and you can preserve that supply chain for now, great. And, it seems like sales have been pretty robust. And that the truth is out there that, cannabis is a part of the mainstream vernacular. The whole paradigm has changed, where cannabis was a vice. When Senator Wiener was local in San Francisco, and he made days for, related to cannabis, to celebrate the use of cannabis to treat people in the Castro that were suffering from HIV and cancer and other issues, that was seen as a pretty progressive thing. But look at us now, the minute you threaten our cannabis supply chain, there was, a petition. We're here. And this is like one of the most central important topics to preserve the public health. So thank you, Marty, for, serving the public. And thank you, Senator Wiener, for taking the time today to address members, Urbana customers, and the community.
Happy to do it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Evan.
Yeah, so I think we'll call it there. We'll make the stream available for everybody in the archives. If you have questions for Marty or Senator Wiener, you could flow those through WeedClub. I'd be happy to connect you, or you guys please let everyone know how they can contact you.
You can contact my office either by phone at 415-557-1300, or you can go to our website and you'll see the email. You can also contact me through my social media, which is pretty easy to find.
All
And
right.
for me, our website again is urbananow.com. You can email questions that go to our team and directly to me as well at belong@urbananow.com, or follow us at urbananow on Instagram for regular and consistent updates.
Thank you, everybody, for attending our first Zoom webinar. And we look forward to having everybody back at Runway together again. And we like to hug you and share a joint together, and, you know, and to see that it factor of our community, because there's so many vibrant people. So let us know how we could help at Weed Club. This is Evan from Weed Club. You can reach me at e@weedclub.com or at 420 on Twitter. And, you know, here's to, you know, us fighting this battle together and making sure that at the very least, our cannabis supply chain stays intact. Thanks a lot, all.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Take care,
Thank you.
everybody.